Hello everyone, this is Jacob with the Game Block, and today I will be ranking all of the characters in Star Wars Battlefront 2. This is not including starfighters, only the trooper classes, reinforcements, and heroes. I will not be ranking them on their overall power level, as the reinforcements would overpower the trooper classes and the heroes would overpower the reinforcements. However, I will be ranking them based on their ease of play, how easy they are to play as without a whole lot of skill, their main attributes, when they are useful, and also I will rank them on their power level based on their type of class, such as the trooper classes, reinforcements, or heroes within those categories. Now, first up, we have the um, the assault class, and I'm going to rank that S tier, which is the best, and D is the worst, by the way. I believe S stands for super, but I'm not sure. I would assume so. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because the assault class is great in pretty much any situation, and it can get you out of tough spots. It's good for short to medium range, and overall, I think it's a pretty good trooper class because it's good for pretty much all situations. A jack of all trades, you might say. Heavy, I believe, is kind of just like that, except it's a bit slower, so that's why I'm also putting in S tier. Because even though it's a little bit slower, it more than makes up for it with its increased health, and they have better weaponry in my opinion, and their sentry mode and their grenades, and especially if you equip Barrage as one of the cards, you can just storm an entire base and or command post, and sometimes you can just win it by yourself depending on how many enemies there are. Overall, I think the heavy is a very good class. Now the officer, I'm going to put in A tier because even though it's very, very good, I would say that other than that, I think it's the third gun, or it might be the second one, the Naboo something. It's mainly for just short range. You can't do any medium or long range with that officer gun. But that other one I think is almost like a sniper rifle with one of the mods. Not mods as in, like, mods you download to the game. I mean, the blaster mods. You can get them in-game. That's what the little things that you add on are called that you can unlock. Figured I'd just mention that, just so there's no confusion. Now, the specialist. I'm going to rank B tier because actually no, A tier. I think A tier. Because quite opposite um of the officer, they can only do long range. And this can be useful if you have a good sniping spot, but if an enemy comes up on you, it is not useful unless you have infiltration turned on. So for that, I'm not putting in S tier, I'm putting in A tier because it is still an incredibly great trooper class if you use it correctly. Next up, we have the B2 Super Battle Droid, and I'm ranking this in B tier because the Super Battle Droid is it's good, but I'd say it's average. Um, the Fortify is good, the Blaster's good, Overload good, Rocket Launcher good, but I honestly just don't. I just feel that it doesn't really have anything that makes it special. So that's why I'm putting it there. Now, the Droideka. Before I put that in a tier, a lot of you are probably thinking, oh, put that way low in the tiers, because they get shot down so easily. But if you know how to use them, then they are much more useful, and that is actually why I am putting the Droideka in A tier. Especially because sadly I wasn't recording it, but just the other day, I was in a supremacy match. We had just gotten to the capital ship. Well, the second phase of the capital ship, I should say. We were separatists, and we were attacking the ship. So there were, I believe there were 4 people as droidekas, me as one of them. So when I got to the control room, 3 of them were already shooting down the reactors. And the clones didn't even have enough time to get there because the droidekas were so fast. And they were all using overload, so I just went up there, and I just helped destroy one after the other, and they all went down before a single clone could get in there. That's how you use the droideka. You don't go up to troops, and while they're shooting at you, activate your shield. You try to get around them, go faster than outmaneuver them, and that is why the droideka, I think, is an A tier. Now, the clone commando, it's no question, it's going in D tier. Okay, I'm joking. Don't destroy me in the comments. Yes, it's an S tier. They are so good. I don't even think I have to say anymore. Clone Commandos. Great. Now, the Wookiee Warrior, I'd say, also goes in A tier because they're not super good, but they are pretty good, especially with their slam that they added in the Age of Rebellion update. And their blaster is really good as well. It's kind of like a lower damage version of Chewie's bowcaster. The only thing that I don't think is that good is when in their overload they slow down a lot, which I know is the same for other enforcers as well. But I'm so used to using Chewie's Furious bowcaster that every time that throws me off. Then again, that's just me, so that's why I'm putting it in A tier. Now, the Death Trooper, I think, is also B tier for the same reason as the Super Battle Droid. It pretty much has the same stuff as the Super Battle Droid. It literally is exactly the same other than the weapon, which does around the same amount of damage. I would say that it's a very good character. And their Sonic Imploder is also an extremely good ability. However, I do not believe that it is A tier material because of how it works, like how close it is to the Super Battle Droid. Now the Ovisian Gunner. Now I personally am not that good with them, and by the way, all of these are just my personal opinions. Don't take these as fact. If you have your own opinions, if you think that one of the ones I put in D tier should be an S tier, that's you. You can make a tier list if you want. I encourage that actually. But don't take my word as fact. This is all just my opinion. And yeah, so if you guys think that something should be in a different tier, then just put it in the comments, please. I would love to hear it. Maybe you could even sway my opinion. Maybe I'll make an updated one of the tier list. Who knows? Either way, the Ovisian Gunner I think is C tier. I personally am not that good at them, but still, they're mostly just Sentry Mode, with one of their abilities being Explosive Sentry Mode, which is a star card for the Heavy, if you didn't know. Now, they are useful in some situations. However, having Sentry Mode on all the time is not useful in a lot of ways, especially because if say like there's a big group of enemies you've just run into, you have to, and you would think Sentry Mode is great for that. Well, think about it. You have to like hold down the attack button, and before it starts shooting, it makes like a process, like it starts spinning and it goes and then it starts firing. That's enough time for an enemy to kill you, and that's how I almost always die. So, it's probably good at long distances while there's not enemies storming you, but still, I feel like it's not good for medium or short range, which is what I believe it was meant to be built for, because of its sentry mode. So, for that reason, that's why it's going in C tier. Now, Flame Trooper would have been, I believe, in B tier, but when they added the secondary fire in one of the updates, I'm not sure which one it was, I'm pretty sure they're now in A tier because the secondary fire allows them to have ranged attacks, and if you have their overload on, then you can just absolutely destroy enemy troops. So, yeah, that's that. Now, the ARC Trooper, Advanced Recon Commando, if you will. I believe that is also an A tier. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of A tier. And that is because they're very, very good. And I think they're really good, especially because of their toggle weapon, which fires a lot faster and has less accuracy. But still, I feel like that is extremely useful if you're sort of close range, because then you don't really need the auto aim as much. So it'll let you get rid of an enemy faster. Also, their secondary fire is useful as well. And yeah, also the dual wield is just awesome. Let me just say that. Now, the BX series commando droid, or droid commando, as you might say. They, I believe, S tier or A tier? I'd say they're S tier because their vibroblade is incredibly useful, and their blaster does a lot of damage, and overall just, I know this shouldn't really factor into that much, but the blaster, it's the default Separatist blaster for the Assault Trooper, and in my opinion, it's just so satisfying to use. The way, I don't know if this does it on Xbox, but on PlayStation, the way it vibrates the controllers is so satisfying. So that's part of the reason why it's an S tier, but mostly because of its abilities and such. Because, again, it's an infiltrator class. It's that good. Um, yeah, I don't think I need to say any more. But the Ewok Hunter, some of you are probably going to kill me in the comments for saying this, but S tier. Ewok Hunters. Oh, oops, that's weird. Sorry. Ewok Hunters are amazing. Try telling me otherwise, I will win the argument. I'm actually making a whole video on Ewoks right now. I'm going to give a little leak right now. It's going to be the Ewok's going to face off against some people. I'm not going to say who, but he is. And I've already recorded footage for it. Ewok's pretty good. So, yeah. But yeah, so the Ewok goes in S tier because his bow and arrow, the auto aim is so good. You can literally just hold down the R2 button or whatever it is on Xbox the whole match, and then you will end up just firing. Just a second. That's better. Sorry. My PlayStation. This is a screenshot from my PlayStation, so it was starting to shut down, but I stopped it. Sorry. That's what I have in the background. For those who don't know what I'm talking about. But you can just hold down R2 the whole match, and you can just rack up kills because he will just keep auto aiming whoever is closest. It is great. Now, the ISB agent, I am going to put in B tier. Now, I know what you're thinking. They're just like the Clone Commando, but they're missing one key feature, which I think makes the Clone Commando. The toggle weapon. The auto aim is still nice, but the toggle weapon is incredibly useful in tons of situations. And that is why I put the clone ARC Trooper in A tier, but I have to put the ISB agent in B tier. Now, the K-Check Spy, I'm going to put in C tier. And no, I'm not just hating on the Resistance. I honestly don't really think they're all that useful. They're basically just a guy with a officer gun that shoots pretty slowly unless you equip the middle ability, and a truncheon thingy. Now, the orbital strike is very useful at times, but you can only use that outdoors. So if you're on a map that's all indoors, you're kind of out of luck. So just because of the circumstances in which it's useful, and there are so many circumstances where it's not, I'm going to have to rank him C tier. Now, the Sith Trooper, I'm going to rank B tier because they're very good. Their blaster is great. Their secondary fire is incredibly useful. I just don't think that they really need the A tier treatment because, I mean, they're good, don't get me wrong, but I feel like there could be more that could be added to them. Like, they just kind of feel like the Super Battle Droid in a way. Even though they're not an enforcer, and they have different abilities, they feel kind of generic. And I feel like they could have done more. Now, the Clone Jet Trooper, I am going to put in B tier, only because it is very similar to a lot of the other aerial units. Now, a lot of the aerial units are going to go in the B tier because they're all pretty much the same with all the same abilities. So I'm going to sort of try and run through them all. Well, you know what, actually, I think this one, though, should go in A tier because their weapon, all their weapons are different, so they might vary between A and B tier. But their weapon is honestly really good now that I think about it. So, A tier. Also, I might move some of these around later on. Okay, the rocket droid, I would have to say is B tier because it's basically a version of the Super Battle Droid that doesn't have as much power, but they can fly. They're useful if you want to get up high, like all aerial units, but I have to say they're B tier. Especially because their wrist blaster is honestly just, I wouldn't say subpar, but it's par. That's why it's right in the middle of all the tiers. The Rebel Jump Trooper, I will put there as well. for the same reasons. It has basically all the same stuff as the rocket battle droid, and their blaster is honestly average as well. Same with the clone, or not clone, the Imperial rocket trooper and the Resistance rocket trooper. But the First Order jet trooper, they are S tier material, and I know they're just another aerial trooper, but they have completely different abilities. They have the best jetpack in the whole game, I think, even better than Boba Fett. Yes, I said it. Yes, I said it. Again, please don't kill me in the comments. Yeah, but yeah, the First Order jet trooper, they can hover in the air. Boba Fett can't even do that. And their abilities, they have the regular blaster fire and the heavy fire, as well as their jetpack tackle. I think it's so-so, but still, they more than make up for it with their hover ability and their sort of heavy attack ability. And with that, we are done with all the trooper classes and reinforcements. So, as Anakin says, this is where the fun begins. This is the heroes. Boba Fett, I'd say, is C tier because he can be very, very useful, but you have to have a lot of skill to master him. So that's why I'm saying he's C tier. Bosk, well, and also once you do master him, for Boba Fett, by the way, he can be a beast on the battlefield, or Battlefront. Don't think I'm confusing series here. Um, but without a lot of experience with him, you can't really play as him that well. Bosk, I think, is the same way, but he's a little bit easier, so he'll go in B tier. And Chewie, I think, if you know to use his Furious Bowcaster, he can be extremely useful. So I'd say A tier, because with his Furious Bowcaster, even like in Heroes vs. Villains with his Furious Bowcaster, he is like so good since it does so much damage and it can go through blocks. All of his attacks can go through blocks, other than his shock grenade, I think. Not sure. And, well, all of his blaster attacks, I should say, because his slam doesn't either. Vader, I would say, also is an A tier. He's really good. His health is super high, but the fact that he's so slow and that, well, I guess it's just that he's so slow. His abilities are great. He does a lot of damage. He has tons of health, but he's so slow, so he can be outmaneuvered very easily. Palpatine, I would say, goes in B because he takes a lot of practice to master, and to fight well as him against heroes, especially lightsaber heroes, you just have to keep jumping over and over, and just zapping them. And I feel like they could have done more with him. Instead of maybe his dark aura, they could have had dual wield lightsabers or something that he wields with his L1R1 for like 20 seconds or something. Han, I'm going to put with Chewie. You know what, I'm going to put him right next to Chewie. Why is it saying follow game block? I am game block. Weird. Anyway, yeah, that's right down here. But anyway, as I was saying, yeah, I'll just move Han right next to Chewie because, you know, Han and Chewie. But Han is really good because of his shoulder charge. It can knock heroes back, knock them over edges, which is very useful. Same with his detonate charge. If you activate it in midair while someone's jumping, it can knock them really far away. And his blaster shot is just super powerful, which is really good as well. Now, Iden, I'm going to rank B tier again because she's a really good hero, but she's really hard to master. So that's why I'm ranking her B tier, because she can be super useful, but again, she's really hard to master. And you know what? I think I might just move Bosk down to C tier because they're also pretty hard to master now that I think about it. Kylo, I mean, he's the tutorial hero. I mean, I'd say he's in S tier because his attacks are basic to master. He has the freeze, pull, and frenzy, which auto-targets someone, which is very useful. And I feel like he's overall just really easy to use. Plus, he's a pretty good character anyway. Lando, I would say, goes in, I'd say S tier, because Lando, his sharp shot, I believe is what it's called, can auto target people. Very useful for newcomers. Also, he can shoot extremely rapidly, and his smoke bomb can help him hide and get away from people, which is also really good for newcomers who are sort of being stormed. His disabler, or whatever the circle thingy is called, that can also stun enemies, again, for him to get away. Great for newcomers. Plus, if you're experienced with him, you can do tons of damage. Leia, I believe, is A tier because she is an incredibly good hero. However, she can be a little hard to master, especially with the secondary fire, because the secondary fire is it's the key to using Leia, as well as her rapid fire. Her rapid fire, however, is will work fairly well for newcomers, as well as her shield, which can protect her from blaster fire, which is why she's not a B tier and she's an A tier. However, it will take some experience for people to learn Leia, and that's why I think she is an A tier. Luke, S tier, because again, really basic attacks. He has the repulse, he has the push, and he has the rush. And those are really, really easy for newcomers. His attacks are pretty basic. You don't really have to know a whole lot about Battlefront to play as Luke. But his rush, if you are experienced in Battlefront and you have that, you can just go crazy. You can just. It's another reason why I'm going to rank another character later on in S tier, because the rush allows you to just quickly get behind enemies, slash them. It's so good. Or get behind enemies and push them off the edge. Or repulse. Or this brings me to my next character, chokehold them, because Darth Maul has his spin attack, which is basically the dark side version of the rush. Just like my computer is darkening for some reason. How much battery do I have? Excuse me just a second. I have 19%. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'll run through this quickly then. No, I was already doing it quickly, I suppose. Okay, so Rey, I would say also A tier because she's a really good hero, but her dash attack is kind of hard to maneuver, and her blind, if you don't really know what it does, then you can't use it properly. As well as her insight. At first, when I started playing Battlefront, I thought it was another blind, but it wasn't. I didn't even realize it let me see other enemies. So that's why I think she is an A tier. You know what, actually, I'd say a B tier. Yoda, A tier. He has a rush, but his force push is not that powerful at all. His heal can help nearby allies and himself, which makes him good for newcomers, but I still feel that he shouldn't be all the way up in S tier. Finn, I am putting in C tier because, need I say more, I have rarely ever seen a Finn on the top of the leaderboard in a Heroes vs. Villains or Hero Showdown. He's good. He's good against infantry, but against other heroes, he kind of just fails to meet the mark. As well as Captain Phasma, I'm going to put as B tier because her droid can stun people like really easily, and then she can get her rapid fire shots in. But I feel like her gun aims or zooms in too much. There's dual zoom with Captain Phasma, but I feel like her regular zoom should be less, and her dual zoom should be what the normal zoom is. Because Captain Phasma zooms in so far, it's almost impossible to see anything. And the way with like the night vision zoom, I honestly don't think it works that well. Same with the aimer. So I think she's a hard character to use. Her staff strikes are pretty good, and her droid is good, but I still feel that she should be B tier. General Grievous. Surprisingly, you would think I'm putting him in A tier. But if you know how to use him, he is a great character. Because, okay, picture this. Someone's jumping in the air on Bespin. Grievous pushes them off with his what's it called again? Thrust surge. Because if you hit someone midair with a thrust surge, the person will fly back. Really useful. Also, tons of enemies coming through. Grievous, Claw Rush. Goes over them once, goes over them twice. You got 10 kills. I mean, need I say more? And his unrelenting advance is great against troopers. I mean, just plows right through them. Really great. So yeah, he's a little hard to learn, which is why he's not S tier, but I still feel like he can be very good of a hero. Obi-Wan will also be S tier because he is a great. Wait, did something just happen? Oh, I thought it added another tier there for a second. Um, Obi-Wan is a very defensive hero, so he's good for newcomers who are not good at really keeping themselves from taking a lot of damage. And overall, I think that he's just a really good character. His what's it called again? Jedi Mind Trick, I think is what it's called, or Restrictive Mind Trick, I think it um, is good because it can prevent enemies from like throwing bombs at him. And overall, for experienced players, he's a really good character, and for newcomers, he's a really good character. Dooku, I'm going to put in A tier. Whoa, is that another tier? Oh, I see now. But yeah, Dooku, I'm putting in A tier because he's a really, really good character, especially with Duelist, but he can be hard to master for newcomers. So great for experienced players, not so great for newcomers. And Anakin, no, I don't want him in A tier. I want him in S tier because his attacks are great to master. He can go through a block with his passionate strike, and he has a lot of health. He's great for newcomers and great for experienced people. I think he's my favorite light side hero, and Maul is my favorite dark side, if you were wondering. So don't ask that in the comments, because I just said it. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, that's all of the important heroes and villains. Oh right, I forgot about BB-8 and BB-9E. Now, I personally don't like them that much. I am not good at them, and I think that they're incredibly hard for anyone to master, which is why I'm going to just group them together and put them both in D. Because I feel they're good, but not that good. They're good against troopers sometimes, but they can just be killed instantly pretty much by heroes. They have low health, and they do barely any damage with their attacks. So, yeah, I don't think I need to say any more. Well, that is my list of heroes from best to worst. There's the S, A, B, C, and D tier. I will put a link in the description of the final product and also the template if you want to do your own tier list. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I'm Jacob with the Game Block, and I am signing off.